Okay, this is part two. Still talking about the Jews, the Judaism, and the second kind of group of Jewish people are the conservative and reform Jews. And they believe that the ancient laws and practices have to be interpreted for modern life, with inclusion of contemporary sources and with more concern with community practices than with ritual practices. So, community practices are things that you do to help your community, and ritual practices are ones that are like prayers and um, certain celebrations, like the Seder, things like that, that are not they're just for the group. So it's just called a ritual, and community is like doing something that's outside the community. So, but the thing about conservative and reform Jews is they believe that you have to interpret the practices for modern life. So, conservative or reform, you need to interpret. You need to interpret practices. Practices for modern life. So you do them. You don't do everything that the Orthodox do. The Orthodox try to do everything that's in the Torah, but the conservative or reform, they try to interpret the practices for modern life. And they also believe that community is more important than ritual. All right. And then Reform Jews also allow everyone to sit together, men and women. Both Hebrew and local language are spoken in the service. So Reform Jews, um, men and women sit together, and it's in the service at the synagogue is in Hebrew and English or Spanish or Farsi or French or whatever. They do it in a language that you can understand. Okay, now the celebrations in the Jewish celebrations. Let's see. Where are the celebrations? There it is. Okay, but you also have the, yeah, okay. Something else I want to tell you is that you'll hear the word Torah quite a lot, and that's the first 5 books of Moses. You also hear the word Tanakh. I'm going to show you what that means. Okay, so the Torah, the Tanakh is basically it's the Torah plus the Nevi'im, which is the prophets. That's like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, all those prophets in the Old Testament, and the Ketuvim, which are the writings. Okay, and then Torah is the books of Moses, the first 5 books. Okay, so if you take T and the N and the K and you put it together, it spells Tanakh, which is an acronym for the whole Old Testament. And also in Hebrew, there are no vowels, so they would just put like a symbol here that would make like an A sound, and here another A sound, and then you would say Tanakh. Okay, so that's just if you hear the word Torah and Tanakh together, that basically Torah just means the first 5 books of Moses, and the Tanakh makes the whole Old Testament, what Christians call the Old Testament. Okay. Now, Jewish celebrations. Jewish festivals and celebrations center around important events in the history of the Jews. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year festival, which usually takes place in September or October. So Rosh means head, Ha means the, and Shana means year. So it literally means head, the, year. So basically it means it's the Jewish New Year. Okay? And it happens in September or October. So September or October. And it's not like the New Year that we talk about, that New Year always starts on January 1st. The Jewish calendar is based on the moon. And so whenever the cycle of the moon happens, that's why sometimes it's September or October. Okay? Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, during which Jewish people fast, pray, and atone for their sins, asking God for forgiveness. This happens 10 days after Rosh Hashanah. So this is the Day of Atonement. Yom means day, and Kippur means atonement. I'm thinking this is what it all means, but okay. So it's 10 days after Rosh Hashanah, and it's to fast, which means to not eat, and pray and ask God for forgiveness. Okay. Then we have Passover or Pesach, which is in the spring and marks the liberation of the Jews from slavery in Egypt. And this is a very special celebration, Passover or Pesach, and they have a special meal called the Seder. Is it on this word here? And interestingly enough, Christians celebrate Easter, which also happens right around the same time as Passover. It's like Passover, like Easter is always the Sunday, and Passover happens right like the Friday and Saturday before. Okay, so so you begin to see there are some things that are connected between Judaism and Christianity. So Passover is the Exodus from Egypt. Have you ever seen the movie Prince of Egypt? Was that a long time ago? Cartoon, but that tells the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Hanukkah is the festival of lights. It's held in late November or December, when the temple was rededicated after a period of persecution. So this is Hanukkah. Hanukkah is often celebrated here in the USA. Hanukkah is celebrated around Christmas time. It's not Christmas; it's different than Christmas, but it is celebrated at the same kind of time as Hanukkah, as Christmas. And then when Jewish boys and Jewish girls reach 13, they have a bar mitzvah. Bar means son, and mitzvah means law. So bar mitzvah means son of the law, and bat means daughter. So bar means son, bat means daughter, and mitzvah means law. So a bat mitzvah is when boys turn 13. Maybe sometimes girls when their 12th birthday. It depends on the region, I think. And then the first act of adulthood is to read from the Torah during scroll services, during like a synagogue service. All Jewish holy days begin at sundown and end at sundown. The Shabbat begins at sundown each Friday and lasts until dark on Saturday. There's a special Sabbath meal which includes special food, songs, and readings and prayers. Families hold this ceremony together, beginning with the blessing of Shabbat candles, wine, and bread, or the bread called challah. So Shabbat happens every week. It's every Friday at sundown. To Saturday at sundown. Okay? And it's a special meal. With family and friends. Okay, special meal with family. Okay, next we have Jewish spaces. Now, let's move on to that now. Jewish spaces. Israel itself is a very sacred place to Jewish people. Jews who do not live there try to visit at some point in their lives. In particular, Jerusalem is important because it is the ancient capital of Israel and the site of the original temple. The western wall of the ancient temple remains. This is where the tablets that Moses brought down from Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments were stored in a golden box called the Ark of the Covenant. Jewish people make pilgrimages to this wall. It is also called the Wailing Wall because people grieve the destruction of the temple and other persecution of the Jews. So wailing means crying. So it's a place of sadness because they remember the sad things that have happened to the Jewish people there. The Jewish people worship in synagogues. A synagogue is a center for Jewish life, not just worshiping, but education and community also. So, is the remains of an ancient temple. What used to be stored at that temple? The Ten Commandments, and they were in the Ark of the Covenant. If you ever seen Raiders of the Lost Ark with Indiana Jones, that golden box that you see at the end of the movie is a copy of the Ark of the Covenant. It's a big golden box that has the two angels on top of it. That's what it looked like in the Old Testament. Okay? Jewish people worship in synagogues. A synagogue is a center for Jewish life, not just worshiping, but education and community. And community. Synagogue services are led by a Okay, so here's synagogues, of course, vary in style around the world, but all contain certain features. The Holy Ark, with one or more Torah scrolls covered by curtains. A six-pointed star, the Star of David, is often found both inside and outside synagogues. an eternal light in front of the ark, which represents the light which led the Hebrew people through the Sinai and was in the original temple, is kept lit at all times. A reading table at the front or in the middle of the sanctuary, sometimes on a stage or a bima. A replica of the Ten Commandments, a special seat for the rabbi, and rabbi means teacher. There are no images of God, since images are forbidden in the commandments. So there's no pictures of representing God. You might see some pictures, like paintings that represent God in some Christian churches, but you will never see that in a Jewish synagogue. A synagogue service are led by a rabbi and usually a cantor who sings traditional and contemporary melodies. There are prayers, songs, chants, and readings, as well as a sermon or discussion by the rabbi or members of the community. So it's led by a rabbi. Some Jewish people go to the synagogue daily, some weekly on Shabbat, which is Friday, or Friday night to Saturday night, and some periodically on Shabbat and special holy days. Some rituals, like the blessing said at the Shabbat meal and observance of Passover, take place in Jewish homes. Some weekly on Shabbat. Okay. Jewish imagery. Here are some images. The Torah scrolls contain the Jewish Bible, or we learned it's the first 5 books of the Bible. This 9-branched candlestick, where is it? Not right here. 9-branch candlestick is a special kind of menorah used during Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. In Judaism, justice is held in high respect. These are the scales of justice. The Jewish house of worship is called a temple. During Rosh Hashanah, the shofar, this right here, a ram's horn, is blown to remind people to prepare themselves to lead better lives. Many Jewish men wear a skull cap or a kippah when praying. Some wear it all the time. It's a sign of being in the presence of God. So you might see some Jewish men and boys wearing these things are called kippahs. God gave Moses the 10 Commandments on tablets of stone to pass on to the Israelites. This plate of food that are part of the Seder meal, an important ceremony on the first night of Passover, celebrating the escape of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. The egg symbolizes a new beginning. The roasted lamb bone is a reminder that God told the Israelites to put blood on the doorposts so that the angel of death would pass over their home. The horseradish, which tastes bitter, is a reminder of the Jewish people's time in slavery, and salt water symbolizes tears. So this is from the Jewish Passover meal. The talit, or prayer shawl, is used in worship. The fringe on the shawl reminds the Jewish people to obey God's laws. The 6-pointed Star of David is an important Jewish symbol, said to be from the shield of King David, the Israelite king who established Jerusalem as the capital city of the Israelites. So, the Jewish imagery, the skull cap or the kippah, it's a sign of, what's it a sign of? It's a sign of being in the presence of God. The 6-pointed Star of David is an important Jewish symbol said to be from King David's shield. The Israelite king who established Jerusalem. Is that right? Yes. Jerusalem as the capital city of Israelites. I'll just say of Israel. Okay, very good. Let's go on to Christianity now. Let's see, where are we?